Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of the only five-star Revolution podcast. Because as you know, all the others are just fake wannabes. This is the only official five-star Revolution podcast. Go over to Facebook right now. If we reach 1,000 likes by the end of this year on our Facebook page, we will give away not a $100 gift card, a $200 gift card if we reach 1,000 likes by the end of. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel right now, Five Star Revolution Podcast. Tonight we have a very special guest. He is a veteran of the professional wrestling business. His name is Dalton Dallas. How you doing tonight, sir?
Good, man. How
Good,
are
man.
you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule for joining us here tonight.
Oh, no problem, man. Thank you for having me.
My first question for you is, were you a fan growing up?
Yeah, I are you a fan of old school wrestling by chance?
Yeah, 70s, 80s, 90s, yeah.
So my dad was a police officer for like 30 years, and one of his partners after wrestling became a deputy sheriff out of Charlotte, North Carolina. He's by the name of Johnny Weaver. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's pretty much credited for like inventing the sleeper hold. If you ever go back and look at like old Starcades and stuff like that, I think at that, around that time he was just doing interviews, but him and my dad were pretty close, and he hung out at our house a lot. So that kind of got me in the door, and then the Attitude Era just kind of blew up.
So, who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Um, well, I think the first wrestler I ever saw was Big Boss Man because my dad being a cop, I was like, oh, I like that guy. And then I knew what Cobb County, Georgia was because it said it in his theme song. But in Charlotte, we're only like 4 hours from Atlanta. Which those who don't know, Cobb County is right outside of Atlanta. It's actually where they put the new Brave Stadium. So Big Boss Man. I liked Randy Savage. I don't know, with all the documentaries, it's kind of hard for me to watch him now. And I'm like, I still want to love him, but like, man, this is kind of crazy stuff. Um, Stone Cold, of course. And there's just so many around that time. I was a huge Val Venus guy. There's a lot of pictures of me floating around in a Val Venus shirt.
So, how'd you get your start in the professional wrestling business?
Um, do you know? Do you watch AEW?
I do.
There's a guy on there. I'm trying to remember the group he's in. He's in. Do you know the group? What's the name of the group with the? It's oh man, it's Dolph Ziggler's brother. They're in a group.
Oh yeah, Nightmare Factory. Maybe I think he's a part
No,
of.
no, no. That's Cody Rhodes ones, I think. God, I can't remember.
I know who you're talking about. I know Dolph Ziggler's brother. Yes.
Yeah, he's in my trainer's in a group with him. JD Drake.
Okay. Okay.
He did a lot of Evolve shows before AEW took off, and he's basically the big Southern guy that wears trunks. He and his boots look like cowboy boots. But him and a guy named David Reimer, I think his wrestling name was Wicked. I think his wrestling name 100% was Wicked. He's no longer with us, but Chris Hamrick from ECW.
Yeah.
Those that remember is the guy with the mullet that wore the pleather vest and the pleather pants with all the rebel flags on. I don't think that'd get over nowadays. But yeah, all those guys had a huge hand in training me. But Drake was pretty much my main trainer. I started 2007 out of high school. I was actually wrestling in a backyard like little league, which I think a lot of us were if we were into it that much. And I remember they actually told me, as if I would say, pick them. They gave me an ultimatum. They said it's either them or the other wrestling. I'm like, well, clearly I'm going to pick the ones with a ring. Like, so I'm not going to go wrestle on a trampoline in my backyard. I mean, like, at that time I was about to be 18. I was like, this is kind of getting silly. I'm either going to do this or not do this.
All right. So, for those fans and for the listeners who don't know who Dalton Dallas is, do you mind explaining your character a little bit?
Well, to explain that, I'll give you a quick backstory. Around 2009-ish, I started wrestling in this little group called, little group. They're fairly known now. APW in Chester, South Carolina. I believe it's Action Packed Wrestling. They run every other Friday. They used to run every Fridays. You have really great talent that's come out of there, like JD Drake, I believe John Schuyler. I believe he wrestles on Impact now. Evidently, I was the last in the group to find that out. And he goes, "I've been there like 3 weeks." I'm like, I had no clue. You got what is it? TIM, who was just on AEW Dark last night. He wrestles up there a lot. You got a little bit of everywhere. But before then, I was before Dalton Dallas, I was Sweet Steven Stifler, and I did a gay character for about 8 years, and it got me around a lot. And I love character-based wrestling. I mean, I was a big boss man guy, so of course I love a gimmick. Hence the shirt gimmick. But I was doing that for probably about 8 or 9 years, and then here in the South of the Bible Belt, you get a lot of shows that they don't want to use that character, which I understand. So I kind of had to develop something else. Took 4 years off and decided I wanted to come back completely different. I have Tourette syndrome, so that's why I wear a lot of teal. And a matter of fact, a lot of the pictures of me going around now, I have teal black trunks with a teal ribbon on them. And that's the Tourette's ribbon. So the character now is I want to kind of pay tribute a little bit to having Tourette syndrome. 2 weeks ago, I did a show in Boiling Springs, South Carolina, and actually got to meet a fan with Tourette's. And that was pretty awesome getting to pull him aside and talking to him. And, being the bad guy that night, obviously I'm not going to shake anybody's hand, but I made it a point to still shake his hand because, I mean, that's a tough thing to go through, and he's still going out to shows and having fun. But right now we're kind of making a transition. I'm a big cat person, actually work in animal welfare for my 9 to 5. And I have a 24-pound cat named Jeff. So
Wow.
we're kind of going to embrace that this time. I was always a big fan of Ernie Ladd growing up, watching old tapes. Having a family friend who was big in the business back in the day, I got to see a lot of tapes that people to this day still haven't seen. So I was a big cat Ernie Ladd fan. So I'm kind of going to go with big cat Dalton Dallas. I believe I got fuzzy wrist guards coming in. Not too crazy. I'm not going to wear like a battle cat mask or anything. I did look for them. They do not sell replica battle cat masks. But furry robe, and I'm actually getting it's on its way. I got a 24-inch cardboard cutout of my cat's face because my big promo picture is with me and a cat, or my cat, and everyone keeps asking, when am I going to bring the cat out? And the answer to that is never. Because that's not fair to the cat. I know Teddy Hart does it, but if you've ever met Teddy Hart, that explains everything.
Right. So if there's one lesson that you learned in professional wrestling, how do you carry that lesson onto your personal life?
That's a good one. It's a couple. The KISS method, keep it slow and simple, or some people say keep it slow, stupid. Don't rush through anything. I mean, whether that's in a match or just everyday life, what's meant to be will be. You don't have to get too philosophical, but you got to take your time with everything. If you don't take your time, that's when you mess up things. In the ring, you could seriously hurt somebody. And my first couple of years, it was just balls to the wall, going 100 miles an hour. And everybody sees what they see on TV, but I promise you, that's not full speed. You don't want to hurt yourself, because if you get too blown up, or if you hurt yourself, you've got nothing. So patience is a big one. I mean, I grew up in wrestling at a younger age, but I know a lot of people now get into like at 25, which I can't imagine doing that. My body hurts, and I'm only 31.
Same here.
Yeah, it's insane. I get in the ring now, and I'm like, I can't do a lot of the things that I could off the couch 10 to 13 years ago. And I definitely don't take that for granted. So when I see young people, I try to just let them know. Like I saw a kid who's 17 years old before he tore his MCL that night. And I remember telling him, I was like, you're 17. There was another, I don't know what was going on at the show. There were two 17-year-olds booked. One of them canceled to go to the beach with his friends. Now, I'll never tell anybody to cancel a show. I mean, a commitment's a commitment. If you have a commitment, you need to stick to the commitment, especially if you're advertised. But I did tell the kid, I was like, you're 17, be 17. You're going to miss out on a lot of stuff because of wrestling. That's fine. But right now, you're not even 18 yet. Just like experience being young while you still can. I don't have any regrets. I got to go to a lot of cool places because of wrestling. But anybody signed and unsigned will probably tell you, and I'm sure you know yourself, we get to go to some pretty cool places, but we don't really get to go to the really cool places. They're like, oh, well, you were in, Charlotte. Did you go see a Hornets game? No, I didn't have time. I was wrestling the same time the game was going on. So a lot of my experience were that, where I was around cool stuff but didn't get to go to it. So yeah, I guess just cherish the moment and take your time with anything in and outside of the ring.
Great answer. Great answer. What would you say is your style of wrestling nowadays?
It's definitely not flipping and flying. I like to do some high spots. I don't want to say high risk. I mean, everything I try to do, I just try to make it crisp. To a point, powerhouse. I've always liked some of the not too big of moves, like a flapjack. No one does that anymore. I don't know why. It's a cool move. You just lift a guy up and drop them on their face with you falling. It's the 3D without the cutter part. I like the whole ground and pound style. Less is more. You're based out of what? Up north, right?
Massachusetts, Northeast.
Oh yeah, we're a lot different than you guys up there. Like I it gets booed every once in a while, man. But I'm still a believer of grab a hold. I think the last time I wrestled in Philadelphia, we were booed for like 15 minutes because I grabbed a headlock, and they just started booing. And I'm like, you guys are getting louder and louder. This headlock's going on. It's staying on because you guys are exactly what I need you to be. So we'll just take it home from here. Yeah, so ground and pound, slow and simple. You can tell as many stories as you want. You don't need to jump out of the ring 5 times. I actually hate that. There's a way to make it make sense, but there's a lot of people that don't make it make sense. There's a lot of people that watch AEW and see the Young Bucks do 50,000 super kicks, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, you can't do that. You're the second match. You're going to ruin the entire show, and everybody's going to be tired and want to go home.
So, as a veteran of the business, do you still pay your dues and put up the chair, set up the ring, stuff like that?
Yeah, I did that 2 weeks ago. It was for a promotion out of Columbia. I think they were running in a town called St. Matthews, South Carolina. And it was me, a good bit of trainees that I've never met before. Another guy who's blowing up, Zuka King. Keep an eye on him. He's really, really good. But a lot of them were trained by this guy named Bob Keller. And I'll put it this way. Do you listen to the, do you listen to the Gallows podcast with Carl Anderson? And
I sometimes do. I think it's called Stop and Shop Mania or something like that, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah,
sometimes.
that's their pay-per-view. Yeah, Talking Shop. The reason I even bring that up is Bob Keller, the guy I'm trying to talk about. He does a lot. He does a couple of their where telemarketers will call him and he'll start messing with them on the phone. Gallows and Anderson put those at the beginning of their podcast every once in a while. He's a real funny guy, but he's really good, and he's an amazing promoter, and he's got a really kind heart, and he really helps the boys out. He actually takes care of people. As I'm sure you're well aware of, we go to how many shows, we're promised X, and we don't get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, the house didn't draw. No, if you're promised something, you get something. This is a good guy. So I always make it a point, especially when I'm at his shows, to go set up the ring. Anything he needs, I'll go do it. If he needs me to run and go get water, I'll go do it. It's not that I owe this guy anything. It's he's given me a position in the business that a lot would kill to have. I showed up. Won't be too inside baseball on it, but I went to this show, for example, knowing that I was just going to be in a battle royal. And he just wanted to help me get some more reps in now that I'm back in the business. That's the kind of person that this guy is. But you got people who's been in the business for 15 years and people that's never wrestled a match yet, all helping to set up the ring and doing some training for 2-3 hours with good guys. Bob's very connected and has has a lot of people that he can help get learning from people. Like, for example, John Schuyler with TNA that I was talking about earlier. That's actually one of Bob's former students. You got a lot of people around here that they know that name and they respect it because he's a good dude. And I always give him as an example. You're never too old to pay your dues. I just read some status that a friend of mine reposted. Some other girl, she said, after 4 years, I'm done paying dues. You're never done paying dues. Yeah, yeah. Oh, she also said that her booking fee is now $100, which is fine. I mean, people can get mad at me for saying this. Girls can usually get that kind of money. But she said, which I don't know why she randomly said this, but she said for death matches, she's asking 500. Which to me, that's someone who's never done death match wrestling because you're not, well, I'm married and my wife has not let me do any of that. But it would be a lot more than 500. And I say that because no one's going to pay that. Right. Most of those guys still do that for free, which is insane to me. But yeah, no, there's never not a time to pay your dues. I've watched Luke Gallows carry ropes. Chris Hamrick, I've watched him set up rings. I mean, you have a big name, Ricky Morton. I've watched all these guys help set up a ring. It's all about respect. People try to look into paying their dues too much, like when it comes to helping set up the ring and stuff like that. You're there to work. And you cannot set up the ring, but why not? Everyone else is doing it. Just go and get to know these people. You honestly might find a buddy or find a traveling partner. That's always been my go-to. I sit there and set up a ring for an hour, and now I got 4 contacts that I've never met before that I can now ride with or help get on shows or help me get on shows. Like, this whole business gets twisted. This is all networking. Whether it's a 9-to-5 job or other wrestling bookings, this is all networking.
I totally agree with you, man. You have to branch out, make friends. Sometimes you're gonna make enemies, but
yeah,
it is.
Yeah, those blow over quick, though.
So, as a veteran of pro wrestling, how do you deal with backstage politics?
Honestly, I don't really see it that much. Everybody likes to talk about that one. I don't know about you guys up there, but for the most part, if I go to a show and I feel toxic or I feel that there's some toxic environment, I probably won't go to that show again. There's not a dime, there's not a dollar amount in the world that's going to have me go to that. I've gotten old enough and mature enough to realize that all the money in the world, it doesn't mean anything if you're not happy. And I do this to be happy. I do this to have fun. It's nice to be able to sell merch and get your name out there and get opportunities. But if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? And that's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to get out of it for so long, because I stopped having fun. Because it got so political in certain aspects. Really not the backstage side. It was more so the behind the scenes. This person got this amount of money. This person got that amount of money. But the scene has changed a lot. For us down here, it's changed a lot. A lot of people are coming out of the Carolinas and have come out of the Carolinas. So it hasn't been really one of those things where it's as backstabby. You still get some of these, what Jim Cornette likes to call mud shows. We still get some of those around, but I mean, even then, you got good talent on every show around here. It might not draw the best, but you got some pretty good talent. As far as the backstage politics, I saw a buddy of mine, Myrick Moore, at that WrestleForce show I was just telling you about. And we hadn't seen each other in 10 years. And it was, we both started getting a little teary-eyed and hugged. Like, he's such a good dude. The advice I would give anybody, if you're in a toxic, environment like that, you got a locker room full of 15 people, find somebody and cling to them. It's the whole same thing. If you get lost in a match, grab a hold. If you get caught up in some politics, just go grab a buddy. Go outside, have a break. I'm sure there's water. Go drink 5 bottles of water, Just focus on, the fun part of it and try to ignore the negative part. It can be hard, but it can be easy.
So how do you deal with those rookies that you have a match with that want to do all these spots? What do you tell them?
I hadn't had to deal with that one since I've gotten back yet. Right now, people have just been doing the favors, wrestling people that I haven't got to see in a while and stuff like that. What I used to do, I don't say I handled it always the best, but yeah, I don't know if you guys do it up there. I like to call it. I don't like to call a whole bunch in the back. It flows better out there. It's kind of how I was trained by one of the other guys. Uh, I like that style better. Um, I'll call without giving too much inside baseball. I'll call a little bit and just enough, and then everything else can just go by ear. These young guys just need to listen, and girls just listen. If you're in there with somebody, if you're not in there with somebody who's got more experience than you, and you're like your first match and it's their second match, don't work for that promotion. That's not smart booking. But I've seen that. I've seen that. I was a kid's first match one time at a show in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it was awesome. But my big thing, he was a big old guy, and he did kind of like a hillbilly Jim type gimmick, and he was super nice, super humble, very respectful. Um, he just wouldn't stay down, and that was frustrating because I got blown up, and I'm like, dude, you need to slow down. I've like made you bump like 5 times. I need you to like stop getting up so fast. Um, but it went well, and that's the thing. If anybody listening to this that doesn't have much match experience, watch tape and listen to who you're working with. It's this is supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to be super planned out. You feed off of the crowd. You can go out, you can go in the back and write out a 20-minute match and go out there and do all that, and the crowd will be dead. I can go out there and have 6-minute match and work the crowd and have them, on their hands, on their hands, on their feet. Be weirder if they're on their hands. It's a different level of over I haven't achieved yet.
So, can you tell us one or two funny road stories that you might have?
Yeah, I know I mentioned Chris Hamrick earlier. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, ECW. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was in Confederate Money, I think was the tag name, with Easy Money. Matter of fact, just a coincidence. My first ever wrestling singlet was made by Easy Money because it was on eBay. That's actually how I got the gay gimmick, because it had a guy doing this on the one side and a pink butterfly on the other. And I'm going through the curtain, and the promoter grabbed me. He goes, "Next week, get a purse. Come out with a purse." And then that lasted for 8 years at all over the place, 27 states, 5 countries, and a purse. Um, so me and Chris, I had just graduated high school. I used to drive a 5-speed Mazda 626 with a sunroof, and the sunroof will come in to the picture later. We were coming from around the Charlotte area to Roanoke, Virginia, and Chris was super excited because he was big for getting pictures with talent and with big guys. Like, for example, he was going to get a picture with Terry Funk. That was one of his main reasons that he wanted to go to the show, so he could print out and sell at his gimmick table, which nothing wrong with that. So we're driving. We're probably about 2 hours into the trip of a 3.5, 4 hour drive. And my car starts getting really hot, like the AC went out. And I'm 18 years old. I have no clue about anything. So we were like, oh man, it's getting hot. So we just roll all the windows down, open the sunroof. Then the car stops working. Long story short on that part of the story, my engine blew.
Oh my God.
We didn't know. I'm over here like, maybe the battery's dead. So I call my dad, which if you know anything about cars, it's not. It was definitely not the battery. He actually made a couple contacts and got like Virginia State Highway Patrol to like come out, and they have a policy where they can't jumpstart a car with one of their patrol cars. So they went to their yard, grabbed an old patrol car, and tried to jumpstart this car. So shout out to my dad for trying. Um, we get back in the car while we're waiting on my mom to come pick us up, which is embarrassing. We started watching. I had just graduated high school, so I had like a laptop. It was my graduation gift, and I had all these old X Division matches on it. And so me and Chris were just sitting in the car watching old X Division matches. Now, mind you, the car's off. It's dead. It starts downpouring rain, like not just like a little bit of rain, downpouring rain. We can't get in, we're stuck in the car with the windows open and the sunroof open. I'm like trying to like save my computer. Chris at this point is like trying to, I think the iPhone had been out like maybe a year when he had had an iPhone. He was trying to find like rental services to get a car. My mom ended up showing up. She had to get we had to get a tow truck to get the car. Basically, at that point, Chris was a little ticked off. I understand. He'll still tell me that I owe him $300 because we missed that show. Um, we get in my mom's car. My mom was a big wrestling fan, like in the '80s. Just because she knew a lot of those people, like this guy Dick Slater, she was friends with his wife. So she was asking him questions, and she didn't know. Like he used to tag with Ricky Morton, and so we stopped at this gas station, and Chris gave me a look, and I've seen that look before because me and Chris at that point were traveling for about a year. And my mom went in the bathroom, and Chris found like a wet floor sign, and the way the door was made for the outside of the bathroom, he somehow found a way to shove this wet floor sign into the door, to where he trapped my mom into the bathroom, and all you could hear her going is "Help! Someone help! The bathroom's locked!" And yeah, and I was like, "Well, I hope that made up for it." And he goes, "Oh no, 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 we're not even." And I think that was actually the last time we traveled together.
So Chris Hamrick was ripping your mom.
Yeah, that's still like one of my favorite things. I still don't let that down. And if you've ever had the chance or to meet him or listen to his podcasts or that he's done, as I think he did a Colt Cabana one, um, he's got some pretty fun stories. And like at that time, he used to make the comments like, "Oh, I hate wrestling." Oh, well, he still does that. I get it now, and I've achieved nowhere near half of what he has. I get that. Like I love wrestling. But I had to wrestle main event 2 weeks ago, and that was a nightmare. I'm like, oh my God, is it time to go on yet? I'm like just sitting in the back, like soaking wet with water. I've done like 4 workouts because I'm trying to stay pumped up. And I'm like, I get why Chris Hamrick says
Who'd
I
you
hate
wrestle on
wrestling.
main event?
Huh?
Who'd you wrestle on main event?
Oh no, not main event, not main event. No, it was main event for a show I did.
Oh, I thought you meant WWE main event.
Oh God, yeah, no, that would have been great. Yeah. Oh man, no, I would have blew that up. My booking fee would have went sky high.
So, last question for you, for me to you, is if there's one thing you wish you knew before you started being a professional wrestler, what would it be?
Mm, that you don't get to see everybody as much. Um, I think that's the saddest part. I'm an emotional guy, so like when I make a connection with somebody, I mean it, and I really feel that. I was given the opportunity to get to travel with a lot of awesome people. Chris Hamrick, the Barbarian, Bobby Eaton, who just passed away. Um, the older I get, the older everybody gets. We're not going to stay young forever. Um, so when you get to make these connections with people, and then you hear that they pass away, it sucks. My advice to everybody is soak that in, cherish it, exchange phone numbers, and actually call people. I have phone numbers in my phone from wrestlers that I haven't talked to in years. And my wife, she wasn't exposed to the business before me, and she makes a comment. She goes, "You say you're friend, but I've never heard you talk about them." And I'm like, "We don't see each other." Like Myrick Moore, the guy I was just telling you about, that was a good example. I hadn't seen him in 10 years, and you would act like we were the best of friends, and to me, we are. Um, you won't. I've heard this from other wrestlers before. Um you won't see people for a couple years, and if you're good with them like that, you guys will pick it right back up like that. um but I just want people to cherish these memories, because no one lives forever. Tomorrow's not promised. So have fun at these shows and make these connections and stuff. when I first started, man, I would wrestle at these promotions, and we would all go to like Denny's afterwards.
Mm.
Um, I did one show one time. My buddy Josh, he has a horrible memory. He We were watching Raw one day, and he was like, "I don't know who this Cesaro guy is," and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I don't know who that is." I'm like, "You went to Denny's with us because I had booked him on a show like 12 years ago." And I was like, "You guys ate a chocolate molten lava cake together. It was really weird. Like, I don't know how you don't remember that." So I was like, so now he's like, "Oh, I remember that guy. The guy got a cake with me." But like, it's important to have like to build those memories. Like, oh, also since you kind of said that too, like if you don't mind, I want to touch on this. It had a lot of people that are like scared to wear, and I think some promoters is like their rule. I don't agree with this rule, but I'm going to say it. Don't wear other wrestlers' gimmicks to the locker rooms. I don't know if you work for any promotions that do that. I hate that. That makes no sense. We got into wrestling to be fans. If I want to wear my Cactus Jack shirt in there, I'm going to wear my Cactus Jack shirt in there. Why wrestlers feel the need to train other wrestlers to not be fans, I do not get that. It's okay to be fans of other people.
To comment on that, I just feel like they don't want you to seem like a mark or
Yeah,
seem fan, so that way the fans don't think, hey, if he seems like a fan, I'm not gonna watch him. I think that's their mentality.
yeah, I get it, but I mean, I look at it this way: if I'm wearing a Cactus Jack shirt, and then Tom Smith over here selling a bunch of Cactus Jack toys, and we'll be like, oh wow, that guy likes Cactus Jack. I'm gonna get that. Hey, it's all business. Like I try to get to a point where like if I'm at shows, especially indie talent, mainly indie talent, I try to go get like maybe not a picture unless I'm close with them, but I'll try to go buy a shirt or do shirt exchanges. The NFL brought that in, and I've seen more of that happen lately. Like, hey, do you want to swap shirts? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, I love the NFL for that. I love that the NFL guys are going out there and swapping jerseys. Like, more indie guys should be doing that. Chris Hamrick used to wear a different indie wrestler shirt every time I saw him. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I've seen big names where like, and I'm not comparing myself or any of us to that, but like, there's there's nothing wrong with that. That kind of to touch on what we're saying with that is, I get it, but it kind of it's kind of a slippery slope. Like I've also been in locker rooms with guys that's been in the business for 3 years, and I've heard them actually say like, "Oh, I don't watch wrestling." I'm like, what? Why are you doing this? Because like, there's only 30 people in the audience tonight. If you're not doing this because you love it, I don't know. And you're slubby. You're not in good shape. You're not going to get signed. Why are you did play in the NFL? Like, why are you abusing your body if you don't love it? Like,
Right.
I love the wrestling business so much. I have no problem. Like heck, I just bought an Angel Garza shirt a couple weeks ago, and I've kind of been known at the gym for the guy that wears funny socks and wrestling shirts. And some guy walked by me the other day and he was like, "No wrestling shirt today?" And I'm like, "No, it's a wrestling shirt." He goes, "Never heard of him," and walked away. And I was like, "That's hilarious." But like, I also like if you got friends that are signed, buy their stuff. They get commission off of that. Like I have oh God, I have FTR shirts. I don't have any AEW stuff yet. That's actually kind of crappy of me. My trainer works there, and I don't have any of his shirts. Uh, but I'm gonna work on it. This stuff's I don't know. Like I said, I love wrestling, and I want to say I expect everybody else to love wrestling, but like if you got into this, it hurts. It's okay to wear I don't know. I have years ago. I do believe I bullied people that had John Cena shirts on. Now I'm like, man, I really wish I would have had one of those old John Cena shirts.
So, Mr. Dallas, that was my last question. If you want to plug anything like your social media or any upcoming shows, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, bud. Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm not super active on Twitter. I try. I check it. I just don't post. I I read mainly things that make me angry. Like I can't get off of Dave Meltzer's page for whatever reason. It just keeps popping up as if I'm interested. Um, but on Twitter and Instagram, that's what I have open to the public for the most part. It's Dalton Dallas 44, DaltonDallas 44. Too long of a name. Um, The number 44, not the word. And then as far as upcoming shows, I have a really big one. We're hoping it to be big. There's a foundation where I live in Rock Hill, South Carolina. It's about 60 minutes from Columbia, South Carolina, and we're about 25, 30 minutes from Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a promotion called PWF. I believe it's Patriotic Wrestling Federation. This will be their inaugural show. Um, they it's a fundraiser for a detective with the York County Sheriff's Department that passed away, that was killed in the line of duty years ago, named Mike Doty. I didn't know Mike, but one of my coworkers, that was his best man in his wedding. So it was important to me to do this show. Not to mention they got a lot of good talent, a lot of up and coming talent. And I'll be there. But also we got Nikita Koloff will be there taking pictures. Magnum TA will be there taking pictures. The Rock and Roll Express, both Ricky and Robert, will be there taking pictures and are actually wrestling. And by the way, I don't know if you guys get them up there, but I might get heat for this one. They look old, but dude, they can still go.
They can
Like,
still go. I've been
dude, they
watching.
can still go, man.
They were on NWA Power, man. They were very impressive, especially Ricky doing suicide dives and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy. I remember someone said he couldn't do that at a NWA Smoky Mountain show in Kingsport, Tennessee, probably 2010, 2011, and he did a dive, and that thing went viral. And then I think like a couple weeks later, he was at one of their shows or another show, and he did like a Canadian Destroyer.
Yeah.
Not to mention too, like I'm gonna give like just a selfless shout out too. If people don't know that Ricky Morton has a son that wrestles, they need to go check him out too, because Kerry Morton is his name. Kerry Morton's freaking awesome. He's young. He's got that baby face, good looks to him. That kid's gonna hopefully get signed. But we had a lot of legends like sons coming around here. But yeah, I really want that show, the PWF show. It's September 11th. Can't forget that date. But that's going to be hopefully a big show, and the money goes to that foundation. That foundation kind of helps out the local police departments that don't have a big budget as far as community relations. So they actually help pay for things for families that they can't afford otherwise. So they took that negative and turned it into a positive for their community, because that's what Mike would have wanted. That's what my friend William Brenner would have wanted. That's the kind of things, these are the kind of shows that I love doing, because we're getting out there, we're getting to wrestle, and hopefully we'll have a big crowd to do it in front of. But more importantly, like, this community is going to be able to get the resources in the impoverished neighborhoods, which I grew up in a impoverished neighborhood. I'm very passionate about that. I want to see these resources grow as high as they can, so that this neighborhood and that these kids that are affected by these neighborhoods can hopefully either get scholarships or get school shoes or get athletic equipment. I mean, that's what indie wrestling to me is about, being able to give back and have fun. And if you get signed, perfect. If not, at least you're having fun, right?
Right. I agree with you 100%. And I hope that show is a success, and I hope you guys raise a lot of money. We also wish you the best of luck in your career. Thank you so much, Mr. Dalton Dallas, for joining us right here on the 5-Star Revolution podcast. And for you listeners, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, 5-Star Revolution podcast. Not $100, $200 Visa gift card we're going to give away if we reach 1,000 likes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot of more great guests on the show. Dalton Dallas, have a great night, sir.
Thanks, bud.